I think he's a great athlete coming from Alabama. So I think one of those guys, Denard, prior to his injury, I think I was seeing some things that I was expecting. You're expecting a first-round guy to show you flashes of speed, show you flashes of coverage abilities. Those things. He played. He was very tentative in the beginning of the season. You don't draft a guy in the first round and to have him come play special teams. You want that guy
right.
He's definitely going to be a nickelback, but I wouldn't be surprised if he played well enough and he and Pac-Man were starters and Kirkpatrick and Denard were, vying for those nickel spots.
All right, we go to the second round where the Bengals finally got the wide receiver. I'm sure, Mark, you looked at him a little bit. It's the next article you're writing probably. Tyler Boyd from Pittsburgh. What's your take on him?
Well, again, this is another big kid, decent size, 6'1", about 200 pounds, I think. Pittsburgh used him everywhere. I mean, you saw him line up in the backfield. You saw him line up at Wildcat. I am assuming that the Bengals see him as that receiver to take over opposite of AJ. He ran a 4.5 good speed. Good hands. Some of the pre-draft profiles I saw of him said he has very strong hands. You need somebody who's going to be able to go up and get that ball. Marvin Jones did that, and so now we're just bringing in somebody new to do the same thing. So it's a solid pick. Again, I do agree with you with Shepard and definitely Thomas. Mike, you know how I am with Buckeyes, so I would love to see Michael Thomas. Yeah, but yet I still let
you come on the show. Because you know how I am about Buckeyes, too.
Exactly.
I've become a Washington Husky fan since I met Joe.
That's right, baby. That's
know what?
That's right.
And that's good. And I will become a Washington Husky fan, too. But
that means you got to burn all your Ohio State stuff.
I can't do that. That's like 2/3 of my wardrobe, Mike. I mean, come on.
I'll help you out. I got a lot of purple and gold in my closet.
Oh, do you, Joe? Because I could use some new clothes anyways. I'm poor.
There we go. No, again, a solid pick. A lot of people ahead of time going into that second round said that he would be there. He would be in the second to third round somewhere, taken by someone. So it was a need. Obviously, losing who we've lost, and then again with that recent Eifert news makes it even more of a need. So again, solid pick. I think it'll. Well, I hope it will work out. We'll see what we get. It boils down to another weapon for Andy.
Well, got to worry he's from Pittsburgh too. At least he played at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exactly.
You might have some of that sickness on him. But Joe, what's your take on Tyler Boyd?
Tyler Boyd. What I see in him, I see Sanu. I don't see Marvin Jones. I see Sanu. I see a kid who's a bigger kid, a more physical receiver, possession top receiver that's capable. You look at Sanu and the things that we asked him to do over his career here. We asked him to do a lot, and he can be very effective, just like Sanu was. I don't think that he's a pick that necessarily is going to stretch the field. He's not that sub 4.4 guy. He's a guy who has good speed, 4.4 speed. But nowadays everybody's 4.4. Linebackers are 4.4. 4.5 flat. So I think he's going to fit in, and if he can pick up the offense, the better and quicker he's able to pick up the offensive scheme. I think he can, the better that the bigger impact he can have, his rookie year. But I think it was a solid pick. Like you, Mike, I was hoping that they were, there was a couple guys who were, low 4.4, 4.39 guys, and you can see, just what a guy. You see what Antonio Brown can do just to defenses himself. That's you're in fear of that speed. He can do so much and cause so much damage to a defense. So I think it was a solid pick, and I think he can be a solid contributor and and do well.
All right, that brings us to the third round mark. The Bengals picked a linebacker, Nick Vigil, out of Utah State. What's your take on Nick?
Yeah, you and I talked about him the other night, Mike. I've
changed my mind since I talked to you. I watched some film.
Oh, you did? Okay. See, I thought it was a little bit of a reach, but he is. I've watched some film too. He's a sideline-to-sideline player, and I actually read. I think it was an article I read today or yesterday. Vontaze Burfict's actually calling him Luke Kuechly. I hope that happens. But he, to me, he is. He looks like the typical hard-nosed linebacker. To me, he's almost. I don't know if there's a fair comparison, but we're replacing A.J. Hawk with him eventually down the road. I know we got Carlos Dansby this year, and however much longer he can play with us. But to me, Nick Vigil is that in that A.J. Hawk mold. Maybe not as good an athlete when A.J. was younger, but he's got some upside. He's got downside too. I remember I was watching the draft, and when they drafted him, I was like, my initial reaction was who. I hope it turns out. He's good size. Again, 6'2", around 240. I think he was weighed at the combine. So to me, the jury's out on this one. To me, the problem is he looks too small to play middle linebacker, and he doesn't look fast enough to play outside linebacker. Right. He's kind of like you get them guys that were point guards in college, but they don't shoot the ball well enough. They don't handle it in kind of tweeners in the NBA. Yeah. And also the fact that I think Kyler Fackrell was a better linebacker on the same team that the Bengals passed on instead of him. I mean, I think the kid was a hell of a college football player. I just don't know if that's going to transition to the NFL. Joe, any opinion on Nick Vigil?
I think Nick Vigil is a Jim Haslett guy. Okay. When you look at, I played for Jim in '93 at the Raiders. So I was just free agent coming out. I was on injury reserve my the last half of my seventh year. Broke my ankle with the Jets, so I was. Didn't have, a lot of stats came in, had a great year. But Nick reminds me of Greg Beaker. He's a Greg Beaker type guy. Greg came out of Colorado, about 240. Didn't wow you, necessarily with speed, had good speed. Beak ran a 4.68, 4.69 on a great day, mainly set 4.7. But Beak was solid. He can make plays, sideline to sideline. But coaches like to bring in their guys. Okay. Their kind of guys. And, Jim, I think Nick is Jim's kind of guy. So Ray Maualuga is going to have to come in and he's going to have to play. I don't think Nick is, in this league, the style of play how the NFL is now, I don't think he'll will be a very good outside linebacker because I don't see his hips. I think he has tight hips in order to really cover slot guys and get out there in open space. But I think this is a Haslett. I think this is a Jim Haslett. I think Haslett had a lot of pull in this guy in order to get this guy. Greg Beaker went on to play. I think Beak played 12, 13 years. So when coaches come in, their style of play. Ray has his last couple of years. Ray has gotten better, but Ray's gonna need to be better, and if not. I can see And I can understand if Nick comes in there and not necessarily this year that Nick would step in and that starting middle linebacker year 2. I can see that happening.
All right, now we go to a 4th round, which I think might have been the steal of the draft for the Bengals. Defensive tackle Andrew Billings. What's your take on him, Mark?
Well, again, Mike, looking, ahead of the draft, you look at all the mock drafts. I saw several that had the Bengals taking him in the 1st round. And
I saw some where they had Billings going 17, 18 pick to Indianapolis even.
Exactly. I think that you're right. This is a steal. This kid is huge. I mean, he's 6'1", 310, somewhere in that range. And if I remember right, he was like a record power lifter in Texas in high school. He's going to push some people around. I mean, they say he had limited arm length. I think might be one of the things that was the biggest knock against him, and people are calling him a 2-down lineman. In this system, you need a 2-down lineman. I mean, Pecco is getting up in age. He's going to come in. I just see, maybe, well, who knows? Who knows what happens in his rookie year? But in a couple years, imagine somebody as stout as him and as big as him next to Geno Atkins in the middle. You're going to get a hell of a push up the middle, and that's going to help you out in the run game. I really, really, really like this pick. All
right, Joe.
Well, I love the pick because I was the one to be able to announce. So I love the pick. With him, he was as far as ranking a kid and based on his ability and what he did and projecting his game to the NFL. This guy was a first rounder. There's nothing about his play to indicate that this guy was not and should not have been a first rounder. So when you have a guy like that and you have this guy coming in, I definitely know that this kid is going to come in with a chip on his shoulder, this kid is going to come in and play. I think he's going to make an immediate impact. I think eventually he's going to replace Pecco. If not at the beginning of the season, he's going to replace Pecco pretty soon. I don't see them being able to, if that kid stays healthy, with he and Geno in there, you're talking about one hell of a push. I'm talking about, hey man, we're going to be so stout, inside. It's going to be exciting from a defensive standpoint to see these guys playing. Geno is definitely up to his Pro Bowl caliber type player that he's recovered from that knee injury. So our interior push is going to be something special.
Yeah, which is going to make you even better at defensive end, which was pretty good last year with Carlos Dunlap, Michael Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and he's also going to help the linebackers because it's going to keep a guard from being able to shoot upfield and get right to a linebacker.
How bad I would love to play behind two guys, two monsters. Weighing 315 pounds. Man, I was playing linebacker. I was almost just as heavy as Jim Scow and Jason Buck. I've been a play behind some studs, man, like that. That they're going to free. They're definitely going to free the linebackers up and allow the linebackers to fly to the ball, and it's going to be interesting to see. Because Burfict has to. Sit out the first 3 games. What linebacker is in there, and I think whoever's in there is definitely going to be able to, take advantage of that interior push that we're going to have.
All right, we go to the 5th round. The Bengals took offensive guard from Arizona State, Christian Westerman. First take on him, Matt or Mark?
Well, there's another guy you and I talked about the other night, Mike. I think this might be the second best pick of the draft behind Billings. He's an athletic offensive lineman.